The long-term perspective is getting back to the borders of 1991, but in the terms of counteroffensive, what will be counted as the victory in this counteroffensive for Ukraine?
Well, that's the objective. That's the determination of the general staff and the president. This is not something that's on a billboard on the highway or that is advertised. I mean, the Ukrainian general staff is very professional. They do a good job of protecting information because if you and I know, then that means the Russians also know. And so I think the specific objectives, the timelines, the status of units and capabilities, this is not information that we should know. And so how do we know when the counteroffensive is successful? I think when the general staff announces that they have accomplished what they meant to do. I imagine that one of their objectives, of course, is to be able to isolate Crimea, to cut off all the logistics going in and out of Crimea, because Crimea truly is the decisive terrain for this war. Ukraine will never be safe or secure, and it'll never be able to rebuild its economy as long as Russia occupies Crimea, because it blocks all of the ports. So I think that that's the ultimate objective. And the general staff is using not only the ground offensive, but also drones, maritime and air. They're trying to bring up more long-range weapons that could hit Sevastopol, for example, make the Crimean Peninsula untenable, make it impossible for the Russians to stay there. I think that's the ultimate purpose of the counteroffensive.
You know, it's interesting, whatever happens on the battlefield, whatever happens in the policy and in diplomacy, no matter, each time Russians use every information to make of this false news, to disinformation spreads, not only for their audience, but among European countries and other Western ally representatives. So what about air defense system? It's a very difficult question that, at the end of the day, Russians use as a disinformation. How many such systems are needed for defending all the territory of Ukraine? Because there are some unreasonable thoughts that our military command places all the weaponry near Kiev to defend just Kiev or maybe the central official headquarters in Kiev. But as I understand, and maybe you understand, and we see from news, the missiles have hit all of the Ukraine territory. This secure the citizens, the people who are not on the front line. So how many of these constructions needed to defend all the territory of Ukraine?
Well, nobody in the world, including the United States or Russia or China, has enough air defense to protect everything. I mean, that's just a fact. It's when you think about the population, you think about critical infrastructure, you think about headquarters, you think about logistics, you think about the thousands of potential targets. Every country, every commander has to go through a prioritization process. You have to choose what has to be defended, where can we take risk. If we lose this to an airstrike, do we fail over here? So this is very normal. It's hard decisions for the general staff and, of course, for the government, for the minister. But the prioritization process of what has to be protected. So I think that the general staff, it seems, the government, the ministry, made the decision to try and protect as much of the population as possible, even though that means soldiers that are in the fight have less protection. So that was the priority, was to protect civilians, to protect the power grid, to protect civilian targets at the risk of exposing soldiers that are actually in the fight. Now, again, what the priority is um, in the area or in Ukraine. Kyiv obviously may get more protection than Lviv or Kharkiv. Odessa obviously is important. So I guess what I'm saying, there's not enough ever. So you have to make a priority. What do you have to protect? Where do you take risk?